So the motor is back in after fighting the engine hoist I borrowed. Turns out it wasn't gonna clear enough, so long story short, off camera we took the bumper off, put the motor in, set it down, put the bumper back on. But I got the motor in, so now it's just a matter of connecting everything back, harness, exhaust manifolds, which I'm about to do right now, all the little connections and hoses, turbo drains, feeds, all that fun stuff to continue with, catch can lines, starter, bell housing bolts, yada, yada, yada. So that is where we're at, and not that bad considering what we were given. So really easy. These cars are pretty easy to work on, long story short. But once we get this in, final thing will be adding our push rods in here, and then fuel, load a tune up, fire it up. So I'm gonna keep rocking and rolling on this. Just wanna give you a quick update on everything that we're doing right now. So surprisingly, it's starting to look like a car again. I mean, this thing was raked up way high, back down to level, and pretty pumped. So it needs a bath, but we'll get to that stuff later. And still need to replace that brake master cylinder. I'll probably do a separate video on that, but there you go. That's how it sits in the car if you haven't seen the previous videos. But everything looks pretty good, lined up pretty well. And still have to do the transmission flush, but I want to get this obviously connected before we do any of that stuff and take time doing that. So I'm gonna keep rocking and rolling, get everything buttoned up. Currently like I said, I'm working on these headers, and I'm running heat, red silicone RTV, high temp. Everything that has a connection is V-banded, but also has a high temp, especially on the hot side. Really just honestly on the hot side. So some people like to run gaskets and say not to run this. I haven't had an issue with this, but that's what I'm using if you want to use that as well. And we're gonna keep rocking and rolling, so let's do it. Well, it's the following day. I had to call it a night last night, but we're gonna pick right back off where we left, trying to finish out 2022 with getting as much done as possible on this car, and firing it up early 2023. So we're gonna pick right back up where we left off. Got the car actually in the air. So we're gonna work bottom up-ish. So side note too, I just got this in the mail. This is a Power Glide Turbo 400 350 adapter to LS ICT billet piece. That's gonna need to go in the trans. So I'm not gonna 100% button up the trans just yet, because I will have to scoot it out. This won't just slide in between the torque converter and the flex plate. But that'll require dropping obviously drive shafts, cross member, stuff like that. And that's okay. So we'll do that later. I'm gonna work on connecting all the lines underneath and sensors. See if you have turbo drain right there. Let's see, crank sensor in the back, all the little things, turbo feed over there hanging down. but got the motor mounts in, obviously. That looks pretty good. Some ground connections, started one right there. So stuff like that, all the little things, and then put it back down towards the ground and start heading up all the connections up top. Gonna leave, I could probably put the intake back on. Yeah, I can do that, but I'm gonna leave plugs out of it and stuff like that just because we'll be putting the motor or the push rods in the motor and have to turn the motor over, and don't want compression, obviously. It'd be easier that way. But headers are on, those are all cured with the gaskets. Those just sat overnight. And start connecting all the wire harness to injectors, stuff like that. So let's work from the ground up. We'll keep going. All right, pretty easy down low. Got everything on. Now it's time to tackle the top. Gonna get the intake installed, the grounds against the back of the heads and the firewall. This should be a little fun. And then we can start plugging away injector harness, crank sensors, or not crank, cam sensor, all the fun stuff. Time to go. So that's it. Do have to do to get this intake on, and have to remove, like back this off, put the intake on, and put this back on. I learned that when I was test fitting on the engine stand, so I'll tweak with that too. But we're just rocking and rolling, and hopefully have this done here in just a few minutes. Power of editing, let's go. Well, I have a confession to make. I forgot to kind of record. So yeah, I made some progress. But hey, that's okay, because I'm almost done. Side note, push rods. So, push rods, they're in. Got the right ones ordered up. Did the whole side to side and up and down, plenty of preload, so looking good there. Went ahead and finished buttoning up a few things. Pretty much all we need is oil and sparks, which I'm gonna leave because I want to prime the oil system. So I'm gonna leave it disconnected and turn the motor over, wheel pressure, then connect those. One more sensor connection, last electrical plug in there. I will clean up some of the wiring and stuff too, and put this all pretty nice behind the fuel rail. But side note too, I did end up pulling the transmission, the power glide out of it. Mainly just wanted to see what was in there and all the good parts that come with it. To verify, since I haven't had this apart, since I've had it, no issues. Just had the SFI bell housing there, but pretty much had it gone through. Shout out to Disher on that for checking it out, going through it, turning it around, and it was good to go. Has some pretty decent parts in it, so we're gonna run it. Fresh oil, running the T4, got plenty of that. It was on sale. So game plan, transmission over there, put it in here. That's, you know, that's where it belongs. So it's gonna go there, torque down the converter, put the starter back in its home, add some fluids and fuel. But I do want to flush, these are my fuel lines. I do want to flush whatever is left. I did drain the tank during the winter, but there's still a little left in the lines. So I'm gonna kick the fuel pump on, pump if there is anything to pump out, and then put fresh fluid in. So since I got the injectors clean, you don't, if there is any fluid in there, you don't want that in your brand new clean injectors. That's not gonna work. Belts on, should probably do need to fill this up. So my reminder will be to take this off. Got it. We're so close, and I'm so excited. Oh, I do need to charge the battery. I'll charge the battery here in a second. I need both hands just because I don't have shocks on the trunk latch, so I'm gonna kind of hold it up there. But next task at hand, put the drive shaft. Oh yeah, we'll put the transmission back in. I'm just letting the paint dry for a minute. And get into some dirtier clothes I don't care about, and crawl underneath here. Do one of those fancy lift it on your chest, limp it onto a jack stand, trans jack, maybe don't die. Pump it up, bolt it up, starter, torque converter bolts, drive shaft. Boom, done under there. And then we can put fluids in the motor, clean the fuel system, fire this thing up. Let's do it. Well, of course, my phone dies as I'm trying to finish putting the trans in, but actually the following day, I finished buttoning everything up and went to go start it, put fluids in it, everything like that. Went to go start it, and we found that there's some fuel leaks. So pretty much in a nutshell, I guess when I had all the lines kind of sitting over here, bungee cord out of the way, the Y block for my fuel, oh, no. So the Y block for my fuel, which splits, it goes to each rail, one here, one there. That decided to leak at that 45 fitting against the firewall right there. So gonna have to get a new one of those. This line was leaking fuel there, which is weird because I never messed with that. I took the whole intake off. Wasn't leaking there, wasn't leaking there. The 45 that goes in the back of this fuel rail, that was leaking there, and so was the other one. So kinda bad news is can't start it. Good news is I can finally move that regulator off the top. Been being pestered at by my friends. In all seriousness though, probably is a good idea. I plan on just go ahead and moving that anyway. But yeah, so I'm gonna get the Motion Raceworks bracket since I have this style intake, and put the regulator right down here and get all new lines, remake all these lines, get new fittings, and unfortunately I'm not gonna be able to fire it up in this video, but that stuff should be here next week, and that is literally the last piece. I mean, there's fuel in there, plugs are in there. All I was gonna do was prime the system without having the spark plugs connected, and had to stop because of the leaks, and I don't have the fittings. So unfortunately it's the end of this video. Really wanted to start it in this one, but guess we'll have to do it next week. So it is what it is on that stuff. You always get down to the last little thing, and then you find little stuff that you didn't think was wrong that turns out to be wrong. So that is part of working on cars. But thank you so much for watching. Stay really close because I'm probably gonna get this thing fired up and just do a once over on everything and make a quick little video on that so y'all can hear how it sounds. I doubt it'll change a lot with the compression going up a little bit, but it might sound a little different. I don't know. We'll find out together. But until the next one, I will see you guys later. Peace.